We can have two different attitudes, yeah? So when a breakdown is happening, we can choose to step into responsibility, or we can choose to become a victim of it. And that will make that will cause a different outcome. So if we choose to be a victim, we're going to think that it's happening to us, and we're going to struggle, resist it, and we're going to try to blame and project it onto why someone did something instead of us. So I think it's really important that when we have a breakdown, to look, what's this teaching us? What is this telling about us? What do we need to change? What do we need to let go? What do we need to surrender to now?
Hello and welcome to Uncovered, the podcast with your host, Jason Irving. Join me in a journey to understand what's truly happening in your world and the world around you. This is not about how you're living life on the surface. It's about what's truly driving you from under the covers. I'm going to take you on a journey to deeply uncover the reason why you are here, the ultimate purpose in your problems, and the way that they have shaped your life up until now. See, I believe you have a purpose, and your problems are the highway towards ultimate realization of that journey towards freedom and the reconnection of your true self. I've been told I have a different spin on most things, and I'll be giving you my understanding of life, love, and what we're all here for, purpose. To get the best out of this podcast, drop what you already know so you can discover what's beyond you. So join me, let's play this game of life and bring on liberation, transformation, and change. Let's do this.
Hey guys, welcome to Uncovered. Really excited. I've got you, Anja, my beautiful wife, here to talk about the gift of breakdowns. So breakdowns are so essential to learn from and work through. Breakdowns are the ingredient to get us to move in the direction that we want. So talk to me about this, Anja. Welcome to jumping into Uncovered and talking about this really important aspect. And a lot of people don't share their breakdowns until later on.
Yeah, thanks, Jace. And hey everyone who is listening. I think this is a really good topic to talk about, because if you think, a lot of the times thinking about having a breakdown is like, we think it's wrong, it's weird, it should go away, and we're scared of it, or we judge it, or even someone looking at maybe someone else having or emotional mental breakdown, we can judge it and go, what the fuck's happening here, And yet I believe that breakdowns are really, really important. So I've learned to understand in the last couple of years, when I was intensively working on my stuff, that we break down, and the breakdown is an opportunity for us to crack. And through those cracks, something new can enter us. Because before that, we are holding on to our mask, we're holding on to this identity that probably served us to a certain point, and then it's not serving us anymore. We outgrew it. And a breakdown allows us to let go. Yeah. So it's really important. So now the way I look at the breakdowns is that when they come, I'm like, wow, okay, it's not a bad thing. I know it gives me opportunity to let go of something old that's not serving me anymore. And I know that for me, eventually, we never know how long the breakdown will take. Eventually, though, it will lead us to a breakthrough. And like I said before, only when we crack, those cracks serve us so something new can enter through those cracks. Because if we wouldn't crack, nothing new can come. We would just keep, being stuck in that identity, personality that, served us usually for survival. And we have opportunity to, step into thriving. And it's something needs to change, yeah. And a breakdown serves us to surrender.
Yeah, and I think this is really important, listeners. Like, there's two forms of breakdown that I see. There's a purposeful breakdown, and there's a wall smashing breakdown where you headbutt the wall and you fall over. Now, a purposeful breakdown is much healthier, because you're making a choice to break down something that is not working for you. Now, when something happens all of a sudden and you have a breakdown, that's a little bit different. These are the people, the second is people who don't have a plan for their future. So if you don't have a future plan or a future vision or a future purpose, and you're just going day by day and you're focusing on, in quotes, being in the moment and just, doing your business or, working in a job, and you're just doing your thing, and, really thinking, you're just looking about, oh, I can't wait to have my next holiday,
can't wait to have this next event that I'm doing. And then something happens. And then you have a breakdown. You know, some people, I was just on a podcast with someone this morning that just recorded around her having an absolute breakdown of burnout. And these things can happen. And I remember when I had one of my breakdowns, which was what happened with you, you had a breakdown afterwards, which was me getting a kidney stone. I can't remember when that was, but that was a breakdown of my body. And it happened all of a sudden. Everything was fine until I woke up and I was sore, and and then I didn't want to wake you up. And every time I walked, I ended up on one knee, and I was in so much pain. And apparently they're worse than childbirth, apparently. And that's what people say, a kidney stone, as far as pain is concerned. So I was in a breakdown of my body, and that was hitting a wall because I wasn't looking after my body as best I could at that time. So, and then
so the breakdowns that you're talking about can be like to smack us awake, yeah? So when we're not listening, we're not seeing that life is trying to redirect us and we need to change something, then we get it like we get smashed and we get and it's in order for us to wake up, yeah? Some people I still see are resisting. So when the breakdown comes, if we resist it, I see that it's just like we just make it worse, yeah? Because resistance means that we're intensifying the pain, because the level of pain we feel equals the level of resistance to what's happening to us. So I think it's really important that we listen and that we do choose awakening, because we can choose to fall asleep deeper, yeah, metaphorically, because everything that happens to us, it can awaken us or it can make us fall asleep deeper. So, and then again, we will just revolve until we have the next breakdown, yeah, and it gets worse and worse, because like a snowball, it gets bigger and bigger, yeah, if we're not dealing with it.
100%. And this is where it comes down to our language, right? So when someone has fallen asleep, it's all in the language. This happened to me is the language of a breakdown where you've actually fallen in the corn and you can't get out because you can't see yourself in the row of corn that you've gone into. So this is the problem when you've haven't actually understood what's happened. So if you don't have that experience, it feels like metaphorically you've had a bicycle accident. But if you haven't sorted that issue out, you're going to end up in a car crash. If you say this car crash happened to me, then you're going to end up with a train wreck. And then if you don't learn the lesson with the train wreck, you're going to have a plane crash. And this is how it works, guys. It builds up, because what we have to understand is that if we don't learn the lessons of our breakdowns, they get bigger and they get wider. So there's another option that you can choose, listeners, which is a purposeful breakdown, right? Where you're making decisions that are maybe scary to get yourself moving in another direction. So this could be a career change. I did a purposeful breakdown when I moved from the IT industry to becoming a therapist. So I made a transition breakdown. I had to break down who I was to become who I want to be. Then I did it again. I made a transition breakdown to move into becoming a leader and break down my whole therapy model. So when we start doing things purposefully, it becomes a lot easier for us to create, because we're choosing to knock the wall down as opposed to a wall being knocked down because we are not prepared to make changes. What do you think of that, love?
Yeah, so I think we can have two different attitudes, yeah? So when a breakdown is happening, we can choose to step into responsibility, or we can choose to become a victim of it. And that will make that will cause a different outcome. So if we choose to be a victim, we're going to think that it's happening to us and we're going to struggle, resist it. And and we're going to try to blame and project it onto why someone did something instead of us. So I think it's really important that when we have a breakdown, to look, what's this teaching us? What is this telling about us? What do we need to change? What do we need to let go? What do we need to surrender to now? There's always, I believe that when things are hard, they're hard because we're required, and it's challenging us to stretch and change and transform, which is often uncertain and unknown and scary, yeah? But we need to learn to, step into more responsibility instead of looking at it as something's happening to us. No, like it's always happening from us and for us. Yeah. And we need to become responsible no matter how hard it feels. And no matter how sometimes on the outside it feels like the outer factors were at blame. But I do believe that, we always get what we need, and we need to learn to recognize what's the lesson behind everything that happens to us.
That's right. So if you've had a position, there's a lady in our academy, I won't mention her name, where she lost everything. She lost her home. She lost every single thing in her life. And the coolest thing about her breakdown is she had the support. Like, I was seeing her at the time in another world. I wasn't doing the academy. She joined our academy and she started rebuilding her whole frame of how she's choosing to be in her life. So she's breaking down. She had a breakdown of financials. Everything is okay now, financially. Now she's moving into another breakdown of from becoming a job transition. So she's moving into breaking down her barriers from doing what is comfortable to doing what she really wants to do. And a lot of people don't do that in life. They don't know how to do it. They don't know how to build themselves into another human being. So it's really, really important to know that if you can do it with the attitude of purpose, then your breakdowns are going to happen. You can't not have them, right? So I'm going through a breakdown for myself at the moment, breaking some systems down for where I'm at, and I haven't got to the other side of the breakthrough yet. So I'm in that challenging space, and you've seen that with me, haven't you, Anja?
Yeah.
Right. And so what we need is, I get support from you, you get the support from me to actually help with our breakdowns when we're falling down. And that's what we need. We need to have someone to do two things, right? Someone to make us accountable, to keep us moving. And the other is to reassure us that we're okay in our breakdown, all the thoughts and the feelings and the things that we do and not do, limitation wise, that are actually causing us stress.
Yeah. See, so I think it's really good to have awareness. Like, if we want to go through breakdowns, like easiest, we need to be aware, right? And if we're aware what's this breakdown about and what is requiring us of us, then it's easier. So let's say I had my recent, and I'm not on the other side either yet. My breakdown is about, being scared of exposure, not wanting to expose. I've been years and years hiding behind you. And, so this is all about, I need to now stop doing what I did. So I know that I outgrew that, and I need to, step into my courage and be brave and, get out there and share my messages more and actually, show up, and instead of, hide and sort of too safely tell people that I'm here.
Yeah, and this is one of the things that's really annoying about you, Anja, right? We did a course, I think it was last year together, and at the end of the course, we asked for feedback. And every single person in the course said what Anja said, right? The whole time. And I was laughing. I was just like, because I was loving every moment that I wasn't even called out, that there was nothing of value of their big bomb moment that they got was actually not from me. And I was really gracious because it was actually understanding. And, I called you out afterwards. I said, see, you have something really, really special. With one of the biggest fears for a lot of us is to go and step into that great unknown and break down our barriers around, well, what are people going to think of us? And you and I have been working with the barrier of feeling like you're going to be laughed at, humiliated, and all of those sorts of things that has stopped you from, jumping in and sharing. And this, listeners, is really important to understand, is that, people look at Anja as really strong, right? As a person, that we all have our problems, and exposure is about humiliation for you, isn't it, Hun?
Yeah, for sure. And look, I think I've explained in one of the previous podcasts that the way I look at strength these days is not that, if you're strong, you're it all the time and you embody it full stop. Yeah. I can still say I'm really good at using strength, and I look at it as it's a tool or a resource. at the same time, yeah, of course, I've got my own limitations, and I always had the voice in my head, and it's strong. And I think more awareness and working on myself allows me not to listen to it as much or not to believe it as much. But the voices were always there, it was always like, who the fuck are you? Who's going to listen to you? What do you have to say? Like, you've got nothing to say, and I could just shut up and you're just going to look stupid. So, and then, there's times when those voices are stronger and you listen to them and then they stop you. And then there's times when you're like, fuck that, I'm going to still have a say. So that's definitely my breakthrough here that I need to make with that, thinking that, yes, not everyone's going to find value in who I am, in what I've got to share, in my messages. Yet that doesn't mean I shouldn't show up for those who are aligned and who would benefit. And I had so many evidence so far that, there are people who I made difference to. And that's all I can do, find your tribe, find your audience. It's not going to be everyone.
No, that's right. And so when you go into that place, listeners, is you've got to look and understand that, maybe, just maybe, your language that you have to yourself is the biggest problem, right? And so one of my biggest breakthroughs is my book. I never wanted to write a book, but I went on a course and I didn't know I was going to be writing a book, and I ended up creating a book. And it took me 5 years to get the book published because my limitations were too scared. We had the same issue, which is exposure. So I'd write the book and I was worried about what everyone was going to think about it, instead of just getting the book done. And I got the book done, and I've had amazing feedback from it. So we'll put our book in the show notes so you can buy it off Amazon. It's #1 bestseller. I never even say any of this stuff. But it's something there that people have read, and people said, oh my God, this is amazing what's in there. And as Anja said, it's not for everybody, right? Some people will think this is a shit book, right? And they're not the people that are for me to help and grow. So what this comes down to, listeners, is understanding what's in your head is quite often not real. When you're going through your breakdowns, a lot of it, you're making it up. And there's a little bit of a tip that we can give you around this, is that all you need to do is a little bit of the opposite of what your head's doing. Right? So if you're scared of exposure, for example, listeners, you just do a little bit of it. You start exposing yourself a little bit more, then it becomes a muscle, right? I remember the first time I did my first Facebook Live, I did it. And then it took me 20 minutes to press the go live button the second time. I shat myself. And now you see me, like someone told me I was on Facebook more than Donald Trump was when he was going for the election, because I was posting lives. I didn't know anybody was watching them. I was just doing it as a role to make sure I had a rhythm to keep myself exposed. And this is what you've got to learn to be able to do. And then it just becomes a muscle. I'll just do a live on this. So I'll just press the go live button and away I go. So I'm not orchestrated. I'm not, and I'm not pre-prepared. And the thing is now, people are more accepting of you if you're less prepared than more prepared and focused on what you've got to say these days, because we want to see more real than we see fake. Do you agree?
Yeah, sorry, I've got interruptions with the birds here, so I do agree with what you said.
I've got the dogs barking.
Yeah, someone's at the door in the dog.
No worries. Well, let's leave it at that. So one of the things we want to hand to you is just do something a little bit different when you're doing that breakdown, and focus on where you want to go rather than what's holding you back. And then at the end of the day, all those thoughts and all those feelings will eventually disappear, and you'll end up on the other side of the breakthrough. Let go of your watch, let go of how long it's going to take for it to happen, and focus on where you want to go, and you'll end up getting there. But make sure you have a plan.
If you've judged your breakdowns and thought that you're weak or something's wrong with you, that you shouldn't have them, look at them from now on as they are actually the only way to a new level of being, to a new level of existence, to a new level of you, and to a new level of resolve that you never had before. Because again, we can't keep being the same person and expecting different results. Yeah. So we need to break down in order to break through. And when we break through, something new is going to come. Yeah. So we need to allow that process to be okay instead of fight it and judge it.
100%. So thanks, Anja, for jumping on Uncovered with me today. And hopefully this has been helpful. So if you are in a breakdown right now, or you know someone's in a breakdown at the moment, I'd love it if you could like and share it to that person or people. What I'll do is, as well as I've got an amazing book title, or a book that's called From Broken to Breakthrough. So it basically talks about the different ways in which we can break down and what we need to break through. So I'll put that in the show notes. So if anyone wants to grab that book off Amazon, you're very welcome to. I'm looking forward to more and more breakdowns and breakthroughs with you in the future, Anja, and helping you, whoever's listening right now. You might be the right fit for us to help you break down your barriers. We're really, really good at it. So we'll put a link into our chat. So if you want to have a chat with us, we'll put that link in so you can actually book in a call, so you can jump in and maybe get some help, so we can help you with your breakdown, so we can help you break through.
Thanks for listening, guys.
Thanks so much for listening to our podcast. We really appreciate you, and we really appreciate your time, because time is so valuable. What we'd love you guys to do, if you like this podcast, if you could share it with your friends, and also our website address for the podcast is www.wellnessbreakthroughacademypodcast.com. Our website is www.wellnessbreakthroughacademy.com. We have a free Facebook group called Wellness Leadership Evolution, so search for that. I'd love it if you could add me as a friend on Facebook. I don't buy it, so add me as a friend. And if you want some help and you would really like some support from us in the Academy, jump in. We have a process. You can do a break-in call to connect in with us. We do small courses. We have lots of things that we share. So we'd love the opportunity to give you a chance to change your life and turn it into a free one. You are one transformation away from change. Come and catch up.